The air in the docking bay was cold enough to make breath visible. It smelled of ozone, stale lubricant, and fear. In the center of the cavernous space he stood, hands raised in a gesture of weary surrender. Before him, she held the weapon, her grip tight, her knuckles pale against the dark, polished metal of the stock dot. It was a Zenthian pulse rifle. A brutish piece of engineering designed for one purpose: total disintegration of its target. Its power cell hummed with a malevolent purple light, casting harsh shadows across her face. She was a keeper of the Accord, her uniform impeccable, her eyes like chips of flint. He was just a human, dressed in a stained engineer's jumpsuit, looking infuriatingly calm. "You have sabotaged the core igniter," she stated, her voice echoing in the bay. "You have doomed this station and every soul aboard. For what? Some petty grievance?" He didn't deny it. He simply nodded, a small, tired gesture. The igniter needed to be stopped. The calculation was wrong. The test would have cracked the planet below like an egg. "The Accord Science Council's calculations are flawless," she spat. "Your kind's arrogance is legendary. You see patterns in chaos and call it intuition. It is a sickness." He shrugged, the movement making her tighten her finger on the trigger. The weapon's hum pitched higher. "Maybe, or maybe you're so sure of your flawless logic you never learn to doubt it. A dangerous trait." "Enough," she said, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. She took a final step forward, the barrel of the rifle now a hand's breadth from his chest. The corrosive energy it emitted made the hairs on his arms stand up. "Any last words?" He looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the conviction, the fear, the absolute certainty of her duty. And he smiled. It wasn't a smile of defiance or madness. It was a smile of profound, almost pitying understanding. "Yeah," he said, his voice soft but clear. "You're holding it wrong." The statement was so absurd, so utterly disconnected from the reality of his imminent death, that her focus fractured for a single, crucial second. Her eyes flickered, just for an instant. From his face to the weapon in her hand's dot, it was all the opening he needed. His raised hands didn't move to strike her. Instead, his right index finger darted out, not towards her, but towards the rifle's main housing. He tapped a specific, seemingly innocuous coupling ring located just behind the foregrip. A detail invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. A deafening clang echoed through the bay, not from the weapon firing, but from it disassembling. The entire forward assembly of the pulse rifle, the barrel, the focusing array, the primary emitter sprung loose as if triggered by a powerful internal spring. It clattered to the deck, plating with a sound of dead metal. The malevolent purple light in the power cell, sputtering and dying. She stared, stunned at the useless grip and stock she now held. The complex weapon reduced to a disconnected handle and a dormant power source. "Zenthian harmonics," he explained, his hands now lowering calmly. "The alloy in the main housing has a resonant frequency. Apply the right vibration at the right stress point, like, say, the one created by an incorrect grip that puts lateral pressure on the tertiary handguard, and the molecular bonds in the coupling temporarily destabilize. A safety feature, ironically. Prevents a misfire from vaporizing the user. You were holding it with too much tension, side to side. I just gave the bond a little nudge." He took a careful step forward and plucked the inert components from her numb fingers. "Your training," he continued, his tone not unkind, "taught you to aim, to fire, to maintain. It taught you the weapon was a tool of authority. It never taught you to listen to it." The hum was a half-tone sharp. It was screaming it was about to fail. She was a soldier, disciplined and proud, but in that moment, she was just a confused being facing the incomprehensible. You disarmed a charged Zenthian rifle with a touch." "I didn't disarm it," he corrected, kneeling to gather the pieces. I showed you it was already disarming itself. Your certainty blinded you to the tool's truth. He stood, cradling the components. Just like the Council's certainty is blinding them to the truth of the igniter. The flaw isn't in the math. It's in the substrate. The crystal matrix they're using is from asteroid TX-9, right? She gave a faint, bewildered nod. It has microscopic fossilized traces of silica-based life, he said. It's porous. Under the planned energy load, it will resonate, fracture, and cascade. The shock wave will travel through the beam and into the planet's mantle. I've seen the scans. I ran the models on my own. Not with a supercomputer, but with a simulator built from spare parts. The result is the same. Catastrophe. He walked past her, toward a wall panel. She didn't stop him. Her world, built on the bedrock of Accord superiority and human irrelevance, had just been upended by a vibration and a smile. He opened the panel, revealing a tangled but orderly nest of cabling and a small, handmade interface. The sabotage isn't permanent. It's a dampening field hooked into the ignition sequencer. It'll stop the test cold. To fix it, they just have to input the override code. He tapped a sequence into a crude keypad, which is now broadcasting on all Accord channels, along with my data and a suggestion they use crystalline substrate from the Vega cluster. No fossils there. He closed the panel and turned to face her. She still hadn't moved. The authority had drained from her posture, replaced by a dawning, horrifying comprehension. You could have led with that, she finally managed, her voice hollow. The data. The explanation. Instead, you let me find you. Let me corner you. Let me almost kill you? He finished gently. With a faulty weapon? No. I let you follow the protocol. I let you be the perfect keeper. Because you had to see it. You had to experience the gap between what you were sure was true and what actually was true. A report from a human engineer would have been deleted unread. A keeper of the Accord, reporting a systemic flaw in both her weapon and her Council's project. That might be listened to. The station's intercom crackled to life. A voice, tense with controlled panic, announced, "Ignition sequence aborted. Stand by for Council communique. All security to central control." He looked at the announcement speaker, then back at her. "They'll be verifying the data now. It'll check out. They will detain you," she said, the soldier in her reasserting itself, though the edges were now blurred. "For sabotage. For this. Probably," he agreed. "For a while. But then they'll have to admit I was right. And then they'll have to ask why. And maybe, just maybe, they'll start to wonder what else they're holding wrong." He offered her the dismantled rifle. After a long moment, she took it, her hands now careful, questioning, feeling the weight and balance anew. "The correct grip," he said, not as a taunt, but as instruction, "is firm but not rigid. Let the weapon sit in your hands. Don't force it. Listen to its pitch." She looked from the broken tool in her hands to the unassuming human who had, without a single act of violence, dismantled her certainty along with her weapon. He hadn't fought the system. He had simply pointed out its inherent, overlooked flaw. "What is your name?" she asked, the formal question feeling strange now. "Leo," he said. She nodded, absorbing it. A simple name for a man who dealt in simple, devastating truths. "They will come for you now, Leo." "I know," he said, turning to face the approaching sounds of booted feet from the corridor. He didn't raise his hands this time. He just waited, a small, tired smile still playing on his lips. He had corrected the grip on a weapon, and in doing so, had perhaps nudged the resonant frequency of an entire empire. It was a good day's work. The keepers flooded in, weapons drawn, but they found no struggle. They found their fellow keeper holding a disassembled rifle, and a human standing quietly, ready to explain it all again, as many times as it took for them to finally hear.